Ross Coulthart says the Mike Turner declassification issue is based on a space-based secret. Let's discuss that and a whole lot more, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, this is replying to Rob Sheridan, who is replying to Joe Khalil. New Republican Representative Ogles sent a letter to Speaker Johnson upset about the way fellow Republican chair of House Intel, Mike Turner, publicized his concerns about a classified national security threat and his request to President Biden to declassify it. And there is the letter. Rob Sheridan replies, so Mike Turner can call for declassification under the heading of threat and in the best interest of transparency for the American people, and yet ignore the daily threats of U.A.P. over American and international airspace, misconduct of funds, and oversight over illegal SAPs, special access programs, by gutting this majority Senate leader, Senator Schumer, NDAA amended legislation. If there was a time to prove that Turner's behavior is a threat to the U.S. Constitution and international affairs, it's now. To which Ross Coulthart replies, good point from Rob Sheridan. How can a congressman turn a blind eye to the acknowledged alleged U.A.P. threat and yet publicly demand the president declassify what is obviously another space-based secret the powers that be clearly want kept? Yeah, we don't really know what that whole issue was all about. Was it, nukes in space from Russia? Was it Iran? Was it, China? What is going on? Is there a, what is the human involvement in that situation? Or could it be U.A.P. related in some way, even if just U.A.P. related in the sense that it's based on reverse engineered U.A.P. technology? We don't know, but Ross Coulthart seems under the impression that it is a space-based secret the powers that be clearly want kept secret. But you don't need to go into space to find secrets. Check this out. Pilot sees UFO over Boston, and then he reports it in.
Well, you're going to think I'm crazy. There's something that just went from right to left to right in a blink and then flashes lights 3-4 times and vanishes.
Okay, well, I had an airplane cross from right to left, E-175, and now there's another one, 777 up there high off the right side that descended to 28. That might be those two aircraft, I'm not sure.
This thing went 180 degrees in like a second.
Oh, goodness. All right. Yeah, let me know if you see it again. We'll make a report.
Well, the details, it literally went from one coast to the other. In front of us, and then it went up like 30 degrees, turned off its lights or whatever it had. It looked like it's a bright orangey thing, and then since we spoke to you last, it flashed us like 3-4 times, and we are still looking at it now. Well, you're going to think I'm crazy.
There you go. UFOs are in our airspace, and pilots are encountering them and seeing them all the time. And hopefully now they have better reporting systems with fewer reprisals, or hopefully not any reprisals, so that they can get the word of these sightings out to the American people. Meanwhile, check this out. Jay of Project Unity is challenging Mick West to a debate. It's happening. Debating the state of reality. I'm looking forward to that. It looks like this debate is actually going to go down, but we'll see. People have backed out of debates before. But I'm really curious to see how that shakes out. Meanwhile, check this out. The fetus of a non-human shown by Jose Mantilla during his interview with RDR News deserves more attention. A baby non-human. This is a scan of one of the Nazca mummies, one of the ones that have a fetus inside them. And here is what that fetus looks like. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it looks like a little dragon, doesn't it? But obviously we don't know what stage of development it is. It would probably look more like the mother than like a dragon. But amazing stuff. I can't wait for more science to be brought to bear on the Nazca mummies, and we need really top-notch scientists on this stuff. And it looks like we're going to get a lot more about the Nazca mummies in the very near future. So I really can't wait. Speaking of the Nazca mummies, check this out. We have new images of a Nazca mummy. Check this out. It's kind of a hybrid looking thing. Obviously a tridactyl. Non-human facial features in tridactyl mummies from Nazca, Peru. Summary: new pieces found at the site of the tridactyl mummies of Nazca, Peru, indescribed. These were released between 2020 and 2021, including loose heads and recently complete bodies under study. They exhibit various facial features across species, such as oblique eyelids, nose, reminiscence, flat faces, heads of different shapes, and observable eyelashes. The implications of these new discoveries are significant, and they must be accredited with relevant scientific studies. That's wild. The Nazca mummies are so cool, guys. The Nazca mummies are so cool. There have seemingly been beings here for a long time, non-human beings, interacting with humanity and doing their own thing. But there also seem to have been previous epochs of human civilization. Here's Timothy Alberino talking about that with Ashton Forbes.
The idea that we've been reset in the past. Do you have any thoughts on that, kind of related to all of this and what you've kind of learned throughout your time on this earth and investigating phenomenon?
I do believe there was an advanced civilization inhabiting the earth. How advanced, I don't know. Perhaps even using a different track of technology that we have today, an advanced civilization inhabiting the earth that was obliterated in a global cataclysm. I absolutely affirm that. I think there's a lot of evidence for that, and I myself have been exploring that question for more than a decade. So I would concur with Graham that there was an advanced civilization on planet Earth at one time, universal, I think, to some extent. And maybe there were some survivors.
Yeah, it does seem to be universal in the sense that it was global. It was all around the world, and the fingerprints of that civilization or civilizations can be seen all around the world, and I've talked about that. And of course, Graham Hancock and many others have talked about that. Fascinating subject, especially if there are survivors. How much of the UFO activity we're seeing could be attributed to Atlanteans or other civilizations that have existed in the past, both human and inhuman. How much of UFO activity could be coming from Earth? Well, I don't know, but there are people who have claimed to have been in contact with civilizations like that. Check out this post from Project Unity about the Thule Society. This proto-Yahtzee Germanic mysticism outfit claimed to have the ability to make telepathic contact with an underground advanced species called the Vrillia, apparent subterranean survivors of an Atlantean cataclysm. Who knows if that's true or not, but there are various people out there who have interacted with beings or even people underground. Speaking of Russia and the Mike Turner situation, Congressman Dan Crenshaw tells Matt Laszlo there's public interest in declassifying Russian space intel.
Hey, how are you? I'm curious your thoughts on this classified. What Turner's saying should be declassified.
I agree with him.
Declassify it.
Yeah, I agree with him. This should be classified. We can't talk about it until it is. So
I know.
I think there's a public interest in having that as we got to be able to hear knowledge.
Have we put enough into U.S. Space Force, or is it?
Yeah, separate question.
Separate question.
That's why we created a Space Force, and we're making it. I gotta run.
Yep. Appreciate you. Wired magazine contributor, Ross.
Why did we create Space Force? Meanwhile, did a bunch of people at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base get sick because of UFO material? Well, that's what the father of one survivor says from the channel Breaking the Silence. And I highly recommend you checking out the full video, and I'll link to it below. But here is what the father had to say.
My eldest son lives in Dayton, Ohio, and he's in the Air Force. He's at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Of all places.
Of all places, Right. So, and I was, we were there visiting in Toledo. And but before all this happened, in end of January, early February 2023, my son and several members of his unit, and they were all security forces guys at Wright-Patterson, all got sick suddenly one day. Just the next day, they were all very sick and very unusual symptoms. Like they diagnosed my son with like abnormalities on his heart, like and extreme fatigue and difficulty breathing and muscle weakness. And it just happened overnight, all these weird symptoms. And they were going to do a nuclear stress test on his heart, and then they canceled it at the last minute, and he couldn't get them to. It was very difficult for him to get any kind of testing done. So I immediately suspected that something had happened on the base because it was all of them so suddenly, all at the same time. So I suspected some kind of radiation leak or something, because there's Area B on Wright-Patterson, and where all the super secret stuff goes on, and where they have U.A.P. materials. Almost everybody suspects that. But anyway, so I did what I do are spirit walks, where I talk to my non-human intelligence contacts. And I wanted to confirm what has happened to my son and these other young people on the base. And they told me that the contractors were rapidly trying to do some reverse engineering and get the stuff out of there and move it before the congressional people get there and start snooping around. They're going to, like playing like a shell game, they're going to move it around.
Yeah.
And
so there you go. So obviously, depending on your woo threshold, that's going to hit you in a different way. If you're, negatively disposed toward people interacting with these entities, you're going to think that's crazy and nutty. But if you're more like me and you think, hey, people do that, then maybe this guy is getting accurate information about Wright-Patterson and them trying to move UFO material to hide it from the government. And the consequences of that were people getting sick. Very alarming stuff. And I was alerted to that story by David Haith, so thank you, David. Meanwhile, just a reminder for those of you who didn't know, but Bob Lazar's boss, Dennis, is a real person who worked at S4 in Area 51. And he has passed on, and here is his tombstone. Last but not least, check out this new technology developed in China to help elderly people with falls. Look at that. That's awesome. This is so cool. I don't know. I might need to get one of those. That's pretty neat. Okay, let me know what you think about that and everything else covered today in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. Facebook, Twitter, Discord links are below. Love to see you guys there. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in an even bigger way, please consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store, or by becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.